Okay, what's up everybody? Thanks for watching this video. I'm just gonna go over today's topic, which is layer styles, introducing something called layer styles. Real quick, I'm going to activate my lasso tool, so I'll hit the letter L for lasso. And all I'm gonna do is just quickly use my stylus here and just make a shape of some sort, okay? So I'm using my stylus. I just used the lasso tool by hitting the letter L. I'm going to rename this shape and I'm going to pick a color. Okay. I'm now going to hold Alt and hit Backspace. Alt Backspace will fill the selection with my color, and then I'm going to hit CTRL D, which will deselect and make sure that I don't have any selection. I don't have any marching ants. I don't have any dotted lines here to confuse me later on, okay? I can use my move tool and move this around, whatever, okay? So once again, this week's topic is layer styles. Layer styles are a bunch of different effects you can apply to any layer, and the way you implement that is by opening a window. The way you get to the window is you simply double click on an empty space next to the thumbnail in the layers tab. So check this out. I am going to hover over my layers tab, double click in this empty space, okay? Suddenly I have a whole window come up and there's a whole bunch of different layer styles on the left hand side. It's a huge menu. We are only going to focus on two layer styles today: drop shadow, which you've probably heard of, and gradient overlay, which you're going to understand really easily. Okay, drop shadow is just making something look like it's popping out a little bit because there's a shadow applied, and then gradient overlay is kind of a fast way to just fill your shape with a gradient, okay? So right away, I'm going to double click on this empty space. I get to my layer styles menu. Super annoying name for this whole menu, because layer style is just not very descriptive. It's very general. However, that's the term that they use. So when you hear layer styles, just think like drop shadow and a whole bunch of other effects. Check this out. You have to be very careful in this menu. It's designed back in the 1970s, so it was not very well designed. You can click on the word, but you can also click on the checkbox, okay? So the checkbox will activate the layer style. See how there's a drop shadow now? But clicking on the word allows you to access the attributes. Once again, clicking on the checkbox activates, turns on the effect, but you can't actually get to the editing of the attributes unless you click on the word. So for example, I want my drop shadow to be a little bit darker, so I jack up the opacity to 100%. Maybe I want to increase this, the distance here. Okay, you can of course change the angle. Now, I want a gradient overlay on it. You check the box to activate the gradient overlay, but you can't actually change the attributes unless you click on the word. So I want a gradient overlay of white to pink. And then I just want to adjust the angle of it. Okay. Inside your layers tab, you now see the effects. They should just call it effects, but it's called layer styles. Okay, once again, layer styles, the whole menu. We'll talk about more of them later this week, but try this out, play around with it, and then come back and do this exercise where you create a cylinder, okay? You can pause it right now, but I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. I'm creating a new layer here. I'm gonna hold down Shift and hit M to get to the elliptical marquee. I'm just dragging an oval. Alt Backspace, fill that shape. Hit CTRL D when you're done and deselect that shape. Okay, I'm gonna make another layer here. And I'm gonna hit Shift M to switch to my rectangular marquee tool, and I'm going to just drag a box from the middle of the oval. Okay, once again, Alt Backspace, I'm going to fill that space up. What I'm going to do next is change the stacking order. I'll rename this top oval. CTRL J, duplicate that, call this bottom oval right away. Drag this to the bottom of the rectangle. Just renaming my layers to be very clear. And I'm going to hit the letter V, move this bottom oval down, and I'm using the arrow keys with Shift to just nudge this into place. And look, I have a cylinder. Okay. I'm going to select my rectangle and bottom oval. Using Shift, select both of these layers, and you can right click here and choose merge layers. I like to just hit CTRL E to merge them together. Okay, but merge them together. Now check it out. What I'll do next is double click on the empty space, activate my gradient overlay, and I'm going to pick a darker color here instead of white. Okay, now when I go to my gradient overlay tool options, I'm clicking on the word gradient overlay, and from the drop down menu I can now choose gradient here, scale it. Okay, I want a little bit of more of a scale. For the top of the oval, maybe I'll leave it blank like that. What do I want next? I'm going to duplicate this top oval, call it bottom oval. I know I had a bottom oval, but I merged it. Dragging this bottom oval to the bottom. Double click in the empty space, activate a drop shadow for it. Want more opacity there. Now that I have a drop shadow, I can then raise up my bottom oval. Boom, now it looks like there's a shadow there. Okay, of course, I can always go back, click on the word drop shadow, and now I can get the options. Try playing with the distance a little bit. Size, even the color. Okay, I want you guys to try making a cylindrical shape using drop shadow and gradient overlay. All right, I think this is a really good exercise for practicing making selections, filling them real quick with your keyboard command, Alt Backspace, and it should empower you to create shapes and just fill things in with different colors. And it's also an introduction to layer styles. Thanks for watching. Please take the quiz.